Queer 20 is the annual celebration of 20 queer Indians who have made a mark in business, technology, and society. Today, we are joined by Vihan Pithambar, who is on the board for Queerala and is also a team member of diversity and inclusion in a major corporate company. Thank you so much for joining us. If you could just start us off by telling us your coming out story and the kind of support system you had then.
At a young age, no one knows, right? When you're studying in school, this is not part of your curriculum, that you even learn the difference between sex and gender. So I just knew that I was uncomfortable with certain things, but when I hit puberty, that's when like it hit me like a brick, brick hit my head that, I was very, very uncomfortable with my body. I think that's when the term dysphoria really kicked in. A very mental anxiety with not being able to deal with my body, the changes with my body. But my conflict was that I didn't know how to communicate this, or tell this to my mother or anyone in my family. And to add to that, that was an age when I started realizing that my sexual orientation was not what it was supposed to be, as dictated by society, right? So because I was female gender assigned at birth, I was supposed to like boys, but I liked girls. So I had both of this conflicts happening within, and I just didn't know who I could talk to, or what to say even, right? I didn't even know whether this was normal to talk about, and I started feeling depressed for a long time. Once I reached college, there was a huge peer pressure to kind of go out with boys, and people would bully me, would tease me, telling that I'm a lesbian. And at that point, I would feel very angry. And at that point, I used to think like, okay, lesbian are women who like women, right? So why am I getting angry? I do like women. But when they're calling me a lesbian, why am I getting angry? I used to think. And then laterally, I realized I'm getting angry because I'm not a woman, right? Yes, I like women, but the term for me is not lesbian. But I did not know what the term was then, right? I myself told my mother I'll create my profile on KeralaMatrimony.com and try and find a guy, because otherwise I was not getting attracted to anyone. So I thought might be arranged marriage might be the way. And I created a profile, and I was still sitting and chatting with guys, and I met this very nice guy who was working in the Middle East, and we got along very well, because the thing is because I'm a guy, I speak very openly with guys, right? Like I don't keep any filters. So I was talking with him very openly about everything under the sun. We had the same likes, we had the same dislikes. When it came to cars and sports and the people in movies, everything we had the same likes. So but the way what I understood eventually was this guy was falling in love with me, right? Because in his head, oh my God, this is the perfect woman. He we gel so well. She's so compatible, and she likes everything that I like, and she's so cool. She doesn't keep any filters. But in my head, I was like, I'm speaking to a friend, right? So, and then immediately after 2 months, like we chatted on and off, and then suddenly when he told he wants to get married as soon as possible, is when it hit me like really hard that oh my God, like I led someone on, when I was not even thinking about this from a very matrimonial kind of way.
So, what has been your lived reality of being a female assigned at birth, and how much more marginalized are they in the Indian context?
But I think it was in that phase that once my mom came to know, I cut my wrist, and it was very bad. I had to be taken to the hospital, and my mom was crying, and she asked me, like, is it something that I've done? It's like, is it something that I've done? Haven't I loved you enough that you're trying to end your life? And that's when I just told her, because I didn't know what to tell her. I just said, Amma, I'm not a girl. That's all I told her, because I didn't know how else to explain it. I read about Kerala being very progressive and a very trans-friendly state. Kerala had just launched the transgender policy, the state's transgender policy, which is the first in India actually. And so and just reading the kind of rosy reports that came out, I was like, what, my state is so great actually when it's coming to policies for trans people. So if I go back also, it won't be much of a difficulty for me. So then my mom and I left my job, and both of us came back to came back to Kerala. And that's when actually my struggle started, because just having to change do my social transition, which is changing my legal transition, which is changing my gender markers, my name and gender on my identification document, was a 6 month battle with the Kerala government. So then, what I thought, I'll just go through the process, right? I'll go through what they're telling me to do, and and then I'll give a complaint. So someone had to do it. Someone had to make the hue and cry about it. So I went through this process, and I was so shocked to see the lack of empathy from doctors, the lack of professionalism. There was doctors who were getting so scared and trembling in fear when they saw me. When I told them that, these are my surgery certificates. You're supposed to analyze this and give me a certificate saying that, I have done my surgeries. And these were doctors who were like the HODs of gynecology and all of that. They were like, they've been practicing for 25 years, and they were trembling. They're like, what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? I'm like, you just chill. Like, you don't need to do anything. Just look at my surgery certificates. It's like, but I'm supposed to like examine you. I said, so I took off my clothes. I said, okay, examine me. What is that? What you see is, what it is. So I'm like, can you give me my certificate? And these doctors didn't even know how to draft the certificate, which again I told them how to draft, because there's no protocol in place, there's no process in place. Everyone, no, they have to be told what to do, and because I had support from Queerella at that point, I used them as, that's when I joined Queerella, and I used that space to kind of, I wrote about it, I spoke about it at different avenues, and as a result of that, the process changed in the Gazette, right? So since then, they have not asked anyone. Even today, they don't ask the medical board certificate as such. So then it became easy for trans people to go and apply for the Gazette notification. But as a result of the complaints that I gave in the social justice department, immediately they formed the state transgender justice board and the district transgender, and now there's a transgender cell as well, and they are functioning quite efficiently in kind of making sure that the transgender policy is implemented in various ways, in terms of welfare benefits and schemes. So that was that's a change, a sea of change that happened one after the other. But that's how I kind of got involved in Queerella and started using that space. That's when I think in my journey, that's how I got in touch with the community, and I came to know a lot of problems which really really disturbed me. Right, like my plan was eventually that I'll come down, change my gender markers, change my IDs, and go back to Dubai. That was my plan. But just coming and learning the ground reality, I thought if I have the space and I'm able to make a change, I should use that. And that's how I decided not to go back to Dubai, and I stayed back in Kerala, and I was working with Queerella. I've been working with Queerella ever since that. Inclusion is not where it should be. And I would say even within, very specific to the trans community, even transgender persons understanding of the gender identities within the spectrum is itself not very good. And because all of us don't, I mean, grow up learning this, right? So most of us are like, most of the trans community are school dropouts, and then they don't have avenues to learn about it. So apart from, I've seen a lot of trans people who are involved in the movement have, even if they're school dropouts, have actually learned, and they have increased their awareness, but that can't be said for the broader community. So even people's understanding of LGBT lives within the community itself is very very minimal. So that is again, that's something that we do in Kerala, right? Even along with educating government officials or other society, the greater society, we also hold workshops to educate the LGBT community itself.
Coming to the corporate now, so you are on the diversity and inclusion team of a major corporate company. What do you think happens when a person from a marginalized community is given a position like this?
It really works, because when you have someone, example, and this is not just specific to LGBT inclusion, right? So there are spaces where they're looking at inclusion of persons with disabilities. So if you have someone who's actually a person with disabilities kind of leading that area, it makes a hell of a difference, right? Because you're someone with the lived experiences, who would be better than that to lead that? So I think even from an LGBT inclusion space, and that's what we increasingly seeing now in the corporate space. I've been seeing that in the last 2 years, that people from the trans community or the LGBT spectrum are actually sitting in these positions and have the voice to kind of influence policies and procedures. So for something that kind of worked in my favor is because of the kind of advocacy space, the advocacy work I've done in this space. I'm able to make the connect between the advocacy space and the corporate space quite easily.
I read an article you wrote on your. So you had like a small ceremony, and the pictures are beautiful. So just tell us about it.
Oh yeah, so my wedding was last year. We did a like I never thought I'd get married, right? Because I think I met my wife at a point in my life where I had given up on finding someone. We there was so much in common. Like I never had to be very apologetic about what I spoke to her. Right? We shared the same passion for LGBT advocacy. We shared the same passion for queer feminism. And our ideals and our principles in life were all very much compatible. So I think once he started speaking, and I felt, I kept thinking, my God, like where was she all my life? Actually, initially she didn't want like a wedding with a ceremony kind of a wedding, but that was a dream for me. Like, I was like, why should we make things different? Why can't we own these spaces? Why should it be kept just for just hetero people? Why can't we own those spaces? So we did it in our own way, with my chosen family, from the community, my friends from the LGBT community. Actually, our biological family was much less compared to that. From the LGBT community, it's not very often that people get to participate in, in marriages or weddings or, any of the rituals and related ceremonies, festivities. So for them also, it was an opportunity. They wanted to do things. They wanted to be part and celebrate this, So that's why we decided to celebrate it that way and make a function out of it. But everyone had a lot of fun. It was truly a very, very special